there, it's me, Evil Blonde, and today we're going to discuss another Evil Blonde, Sara Lance from DC's Legends of Tomorrow. Now, if you remember at the beginning, we were introduced to her in Arrow, one of the darkest shows in the entire Arrowverse, which has now been renamed not the DC verse, the CW verse. But the point is, this was one of the darkest shows, which is why Sarah's initial journey, her character growth, it began on a very dark note. If you remember, she was having an affair with Oliver Queen, who was at that time dating Laurel Lance, who was Sarah's sister. And Sara goes out on a boating trip with Oliver. The boat capsizes. I'm not going to recount her whole story, but she finds herself eventually with the League of Assassins, where she meets Nisa Al Ghul. They start dating, they fall in love. And what's interesting about this as well is that Nisa is married to Oliver, who had also trained with the League of Assassins. So she's dated her sister's boyfriend and his wife. So I'm not slut shaming her, I'm not judging her, I'm very sex positive. I'm all for casual sex, or even if, those characters were in love, that is also beautiful. What I'm saying is that from a wholesome family point of view, some of those decisions, some of those life choices might be seen as questionable. And that is where, this character initially at least appears to be dark, but it's just her making some non-traditional choices, let's put it that way. Then she gets killed while trying to save her friends, and then she is resurrected from the dead by putting her in that pit. I don't remember what it's called, but it kind of it brings her back to life, but her soul is not intact. And then she has this whole journey where she has all of these extremely violent impulses and doesn't know what to do with them until Constantine puts her soul back in her body, so to speak. And that's when we have the real evolution of Sara Lance, when she turns from a sort of a gray character, if you want to call her that, to someone who's actively seeking redemption, someone who's actively working towards being a hero. And that is where she becomes a legend. So when she begins her journey on Legends of Tomorrow, she is trying to be a better version of herself. Again, words like better are so loaded with judgment. I want to avoid using it. I want to avoid using adjectives like dark. So please understand, I'm just using them initially in the video to set her initial journey apart from what happens to her later. Because we have seen her evolve. She goes on to become the captain of the Wave Riders. She becomes one of the strongest legends, and not just in terms of strength. I mean, everyone knows she can kick ass. Point is, she has a lot of strength in here, in her heart. It is one of the reasons why she's able to keep the team together and why she emerges as such an extraordinary leader. And this is the journey. The true story of her redemption is in her turning from someone who made a lot of selfish decisions to someone who puts the lives and the happiness and the well-being of others before herself. And that is how she emerges. A lot of people see her as a sort of a mommy character on the ship, but I think that is unnecessarily infantilizing the legends. I mean, yes, a lot of them have extremely, I don't know if I want to label it immature, but then again, they make a lot of questionable choices. They do a lot of things that can be dismissed as silly. But then again, this is a show that doesn't really take itself too seriously. I love the whole cheesiness of it and how they have embraced the cheesiness. If you notice, I'm wearing Bebo colors. I don't know how it's going to show on camera with all of this lighting, but the objective was to channel Bebo. But coming back to Sara Lance, another beautiful part of her journey is how comfortable Sara Lance has always been with what she wants. She is openly bisexual. She has been out and proud. She told her sister, in fact, when Laurel asked her that, it was only a matter of time before she and Oliver got together. And she's like, I always prefer girls, and you know that. So it shows that her sister knew about Sarah being bisexual. And I like that whole openness of things. And it's not just because it allows the showrunners and writers to pair her with a lot of different characters. She had this very interesting fling with Constantine for a bit, which I thought was a little weird, but they tried to justify it by saying they were both damaged. Again, it was a loaded adjective. I'm not sure if we should really label people like that. Sometimes they make, as I said, non traditional choices, and we might not be able to understand and therefore appreciate these choices, but nevertheless, I think we should try to respect them. And that is what my greatest takeaway from Sarah Lance as a character is, that even though she is someone who has made these non traditional choices, even though she has made some questionable choices or been selfish, she has always known what she's wanted and she's gone after it unapologetically. And I think that deserves respect. It's the same with her and Ava Sharpe. The love story blossomed beautifully over a period of time. It was a cutesy rivalry, but then I think all of us saw it coming a mile away. And I'm just so glad they allowed that relationship to blossom. And now that it's, reached that point where they're married and they're expecting a baby. So that's how to take, uh, again, a lot of people see same sex couples as non traditional. I don't, but a lot of people do. For instance, I know if I were to talk about it in church, I would ruffle a lot of feathers. And I think, however, I can watch this show with all the elderly women who go to church with me, and they would, I think, see how easy it is to accept two women doing the same thing that you would expect a man and a woman to do. They are very lovey dovey, very cuddly, they kiss often, they touch each other often, and it's never sleazy or, it's never shot in a manner that it's supposed to either check boxes on CW's list of, okay, we need to have one gay couple. No, it's not that. It doesn't seem forced at all. It just seems so natural and it seems so beautiful, and that's what I love about it. In fact, if you remember their proposal, it was epic. If you remember their wedding, that was epic again. I mean, there was this whole alien invasion, and when they kiss, their wedding kiss kills all the aliens. I mean, I know that sounds very, very weird, but this is a weird show. And I love how it is the chemistry of Sarah Lance and Ava Sharp that not only maintains the weirdness of the show, but also makes it very open, very accepting. Personally, I don't like the word normal. I think it's the second most offensive N word in the world. What I would say though is it makes uh, same sex relationships more accessible, and in a way, it presents it in a manner that a lot more people would be open to accepting these relationships, including the conservative generations that came before us. So, for that, full marks to this show, and in fact, both the actresses, I think they have this very beautiful chemistry, and I think they're I get the impression, I don't know if it's true, but I think they're very good friends in real life and it shows. Uh, what I also like about their relationship is how they keep referring to each other as co-captains for life. In fact, that was a part of their, wedding vows. And I love that because, that equality is established early on in the relationship. In fact, if I remember correctly, it was Ava who tells Sarah that, let's be honest, none of us needs anyone, but I want you and you want me. And that line of dialogue, it just touched me. And that's what you want. I mean, irrespective of who you're dating, men, women, non binary people, transgender people, love is love. But the true test of love is in respect and equality. And I love how they have brought that in a manner which is almost seamless into this relationship between Sarah Lance and Ava Sharp. I love how they have this whole, personality where they've got each other's backs. they finish each other's sentences, they know what the other person is thinking, they are partners in the real sense, and that is what you hope for in a relationship, irrespective of the gender or the sexuality of the people involved in the relationship. The third thing I'm actually beginning to like a lot is the fact that, they have talked about this whole thing about children. Because if you remember another show on CW, Supergirl, Supergirl's sister wanted children, but her previous girlfriend did not, and that is why they broke up. And Sarah and her girlfriend, Ava Sharpe, they discussed this, they danced around it a bit, but I don't know if you've watched the episode yet where they have. Oh my god, I forgot to issue the spoiler warning. Should I? I mean, season 7 is over. But if you haven't watched it, you know what? Here's your mandatory spoiler warning. Huh. Okay, so back to the episode I was talking about. So if you watch the episode where Sarah is pregnant now, and it is Ava who got her pregnant because, okay, this is another interesting thing. There's this whole alien clone thing going on. Like, I think Sarah has died and come back more number of times than even Alaric Saltzman on, the entire Vampire Diaries, Legacies universe. And I think it has allowed, all of these resurrections have allowed the writers to, weave in different personality elements into her. Like, first she was human, then she becomes an immortal with her soul detached from her, then the soul comes back, then she becomes an alien human hybrid clone of herself. And it sounds complicated, or maybe it's not. I mean, maybe it's just me, I don't know. But whatever, point is that in that universe, in that species, I mean, they're both clones, Sarah and Ava, and one of them has alien biology, so it allows one person of the same gender to uh, impregnate another person of the same gender. And I know it might seem like wishful thinking on the part of the writers or, even me. So I hope at some point humans too achieve that where same sex couples can have their own biological child who has DNA from both the parents. I mean, that would be epic. I'd love to see that. I would love to have a child like that with someone special someday. And I'm really rooting for Sarah and Ava's daughter, if I'm not wrong, because that's what the crystal ball or whatever you want to call it showed her in the future. So here's to baby Ava Lance. I think that's what the ship is called. Finally, Sarah's evolution. I think it's going to be interesting to see what she does as a mom, and now that she's been thrown in prison. So it's a mother in captivity. So that's another interesting element or dimension. I don't know if they're going to explore that captivity over a period of time, over a couple of episodes, or if, she's just going to break out in episode 1 of season 8. I don't even know if the show's been renewed yet, frankly. But I hope it is because I don't think this is the end of the story for Sarah Lance or Ava Sharpe and a lot of the others as well. I mean, I know this is a show where actors keep coming and going. I still miss Ray Palmer. Now even Nate has walked out of the show. I don't know if Zari is going to stay. I hope she does. She's one of my favorites. Oh my god, I love Astra. Please don't take Astra away. And they also have an asexual character. So that's another thing that the writers have constantly tried to do. They keep innovating, they keep reinventing themselves, they keep reinventing the show, and they add all of these elements to see, what's sticking. And sometimes you just have to do that as a writer because, this is not a show that's based on real life or something, it's fiction. So, throw things and see what sticks. And more often than not, at least in the case of this show, things work. And I really like that, especially from the point of view of same sex relationships. And, a lot of the monsters as well, they represent some of uh, our own feeling, our own dark side. For instance, Malice or Wallace, they kept mispronouncing him. In the end, it turns out he was just a monster of malice. and uh, he was conquered by Bebo, who represented everything good and happy and nice, and he was full of love. So I think that is something that this show has always tried to do. Yes, it maintains a lighter tone, and there's Gary and also comedy, but it also teaches you valuable lessons. So I don't know if the show has a rating of adults only or something, because I don't really see any nudity on the show. So if, say, maybe 12 to 14-year-olds are watching it, I don't know. I would be comfortable letting my nephews and nieces watch this show where the leads are this, bisexual woman and her lesbian girlfriend. And then there are a lot of other gay characters on the show as well. There's Win, who had a boyfriend. The boyfriend dies, and that's how he invents time travel. So even, that element, that time travel was invented by a gay man because his boyfriend died. I think that is also beautiful. And I know there are some people, there are detractors, there are haters who would say that, they're trying to push the gay agenda. I don't know what's wrong with the gay agenda. I think it's just the agenda of equality, if you ask me, and it's a beautiful agenda and more power to it. I hope more shows have the courage to experiment as much, to, make their leads not heterosexual. I like that. Having said that, there had been initial concerns about representation of race. Like there were initially there was one black character and there was another black character. There was just like one at a time, but now I see more people of color on the show, and I like that. For instance, typically when you see someone from the Middle East, they're invariably cast as terrorists, and I find that extremely infuriating and insulting, because just because you're from the Middle East doesn't mean you have this whole, you know, you have to carry around this whole baggage of being a terrorist. That's just so not true, and it's so insulting. Which is why I was so happy when they made Zari, this technology genius, this geek, and the other Zari was this influencer. So I like that whole, they take diversity, but it's not token diversity. They actually do something with those characters. I liked what they did with, even Astra as well. Uh, she was dealing with demons. She has been in hell. She's come back and she's had this whole journey of finding herself. So it's not like, black characters are cast just for a checkbox purpose. Each of them has a story, each of them adds a meaningful dimension to Legends of Tomorrow, which is why I think it's one of the best shows on television today. Season 7 has just ended. If you haven't watched the show yet, or if you just watched a few initial episodes of season 1 and dismissed it as too light or just too comic, you know what, go back. It's so worth your time. I loved it, and I know you're going to love watching it too. So I'm going to take your leave, but I'm going to see you in the next video. I hope you watch Legends of Tomorrow, because I'm going to make many more videos about this show. I wouldn't say I'm obsessed with it, but I actually like this a lot more than many other shows on television today. So bye for now, and I'll see you in the next video.